he has a lot of experience with, a top 8 at Grand Prix Kansas City last year with this deck. Now, at that time, he was playing 4 copies of Boomerang. I'm in search of Boomerangs on his deck list. He does not have them this weekend.
I don't see them.
He's gone without them. He's playing against Ryan Gilmore, who is playing Burn. So in this matchup, it seems like it's kind of a pure race from the Burn side.
Pretty much. Sometimes you'll have, like a turn 3 kill maybe from the Burn side if you have a lot of Monastery Swift Spears. Sometimes you have some ways to actually interact and maybe kill their Pestermite.
Okay.
If that's their creature that they're trying to combo off with. But yeah, a lot of the time it's just like hope and pray they don't have the combo.
Sacred Foundry will bring Gilmore down to 18. Goblin Guide came across, hit Berni for 2. Of course, he revealed a Desolate Lighthouse. He's going to play an island, play a Serum Visions, and we are underway here in round number 1 from Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas at SCG Live. Hashtag SCGDFW for your tweets all weekend long, as Berni is going to do a little scry action here with the cantrip of Modern.
Yeah, and I think this is basically where both players want to be. I mean, Ryan won the die roll and started with the Goblin Guy, which is a huge start, and Bernie's already, trying to set up his hand and find his combo.
Gonna have to discard because he did have a land that was hit off of the Goblin Guide. He found a Desolate Lighthouse, so his hand's a little heavy right now. That's why you see Berni kind of going through things. He's gonna discard that Lighthouse. Don't think he's gonna have a lot of time for that.
Probably not.
Gilmore on tap will take a draw step here. He's off to a great start with the Goblin Guide. Looks like he's drawn a land for the turn, another copy of Sacred Foundry. Burn, a pretty popular archetype here in Modern. It got some new cards like a Tarkus Command, which looks to be pretty nice. Cryptic Command, the reveal here from Berni off of the Goblin Guide. I think a lot of people feel this matchup favors Twin, though it does feel kind of close. And now here's Nylon, which I think is a pretty big swing card in the matchup.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Berni is going to try and sit here and just like play a bunch of Serum Visions, he's going to take a bunch of damage, which is definitely not going to work out in his favor.
Serum Vision's going to be cast. He'll take 2 from the Eidolon. It's going to fall down to 14 now. We're going to scry 2 here. We'll see how he wants to split it up.
Yeah, so I think generally like Twin is kind of the favorite just because Deceiver Exarch into Splinter Twin is really hard to interact with, at least in game 1. But from this start from Ryan, it certainly looks to be on the other side. It certainly seems like he is a giant favorite if you just were able to have this draw every time.
Yeah, if you could guarantee this, and I think Eidolon's a pretty big player in the matchup. And I think that's also just a card that really helped put Burn back on the map. Between that and a Tarkus Command, it got some real upgrades over the past couple of sets that it didn't have before.
Yeah, even Monastery Swift Spear. It's like you have more pseudo copies of Goblin Guide, which is just the card you always want to start with.
Serum Visions is done resolving. We'll see what the land is here for Berni. Perhaps if he has a card like a Flame Slash or a Lightning Bolt, it'll just be a Steam Vents that enters the battlefield tapped. And he's going to pass the turn back over to Gilmore. So we'll see what Ryan's third turn will bring.
So even assuming if like Ryan didn't have any more burn spells or anything, I still think like he might just beat Berni, like even if he had the combo, like there's 4 damage this turn, maybe 4 the next turn, some damage from Eidolon.
Exarch will have to take 2 to cast, or Pestermite, what have you. Here's a Grim Lavamancer. Gilmore will take 2 to cast that.
Yeah, basically he just doesn't need a lot of help from here.
And now here's a Suspended Rift Bolt.
But he's got plenty of it. So.
Yeah, he's got some ammunition back there. Berni's draw for the turn was a copy of Spell Snare. Not particularly useful right now.
Yeah, a little too late. It just seems like with Ryan being on the play, Berni wasn't able to have his cards line up very well.
Berni did get to reveal Sulfur Falls to that Goblin Guide, so he's going to play that as land number 3.
That's definitely good. I mean, you want the pain-free, untapped red source. Sulfur Falls might actually just be one of the best cards in this matchup.
Don't have a great look at Berni's hand as he is looking some things over. We just know he has a Spell Snare. He's going to pass the turn back. Not the most confident passing of the turn I've ever seen. He may have to discard here. Yeah, and he will. He'll discard a copy of Cryptic Command. Not particularly useful.
Yeah, you see, Cryptic Command, one of the most powerful cards in Modern, possibly in Magic. And it's just like, it's a little too slow.
Yep. Riftbolt going to come off suspend. That'll trigger the Eidolon for Gilmore, so he'll have to take 2 to cast that, and then Berni will take 3, so it looks like he's going to fall down to 7. And Gilmore will take a draw. 12-7 is the score. Stomping Grounds the draw.
And with the Tarkus Command in Ryan's hand, that certainly seems like one of the best draws he could have. Just any green source.
We'll see if he wants to play that land right now. And it looks like he does. He'll take 2. He's going to fall down to 10. Burn does deal itself a pretty decent amount of damage, especially when it does have an Eidolon on the battlefield. You mentioned the Atarkus Command. You might see that here in just a moment as he does attack with everything. Goblin Guide will have a trigger, so we'll take a look at the top card of Berni's deck. It is a copy of Splinter Twin.
So now, maybe if he wasn't sure what deck he was up against, he knows now. I mean, like, the Lighthouse is kind of a tip-off, but, Berni could be some sort of, like, Blue Moon deck or what have you.
Some Jeskai, maybe.
Yeah, entirely possible.
So right now, the attack would be for 5, and Berni would fall to 2, and he would be Eidolon locked. However, before blockers, he's going to play an Electrolyze. That's going to go towards the Eidolon. 2 damage will be dealt from the Eidolon so long as Gilmore does remember the trigger. And this would be a pretty ideal spot for a Tarkus command +1/+1. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 damage just, kills Berni anyway, but extra value by keeping your Eidolon alive,
Berni will pick up his 3 lands at Electrolyze, and he will get ready to shuffle up for game number 2 as Ryan Gilmore does win game number 1. Burn up a game very quickly here over Blue-Red Twin, which means we'll turn our attention to the sideboards, and we will start with Robert Berni, and he's got 2 copies of Rending Volley, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Blood Moon, 2 Pyroclasm, 2 Flash Freeze, a Spell Skite, a Negate, a Keranos God of the Storms, a Vendilion Click, and a Dispel. What do we like in the sideboard for this matchup?
So I've played a decent amount of Twin, and I've unfortunately played against some burn decks.
Okay.
Basically, you can play this game where you just try and kill all their creatures, maybe counter some of their burn spells, but I think the best way for you to actually try and win the matchup is to just assemble your combo and protect it with things like Spellskite and maybe, Dispel, Negate, things like that.
So with Spellskite in this matchup, because a lot of the burn in this particular deck, it's kind of weirded. It's kind of worded weirdly, where you would think that Spellskite would be a trump card, but a lot of the burn kind of actually in a weird way gets around Spellskite because it's not targeted.
Yeah.
So it says, like a Tarkus man, for example, just deals 3 damage to the player. It doesn't have the ability to be redirected. So I like the idea of like Spellskite being able to, I guess, protect the combo, but is it really an all-star in this matchup still?
I think it is. Not only does it block, but it also is one of those things that can protect your Splinter Twin from their sideboarded Destructive Revelries.
Okay.
Which is a very big deal. But yeah, like you said, I mean, things like Lava Spike, just like the most efficient burn cards that they have, don't actually target creatures. So it's not like, Spellskite is really padding your life total all that much. It's mostly just like a roadblock that also facilitates your combo.
For Gilmore, he's got a Skull Crack. He's got 2 Deflecting Palms, 2 Path to Exile, 2 Rending Volleys, 4 Destructive Revelries, 2 Core Firewalkers, and 2 Lightning Helixes. Currently up a game. How would you sideboard here? I know you mentioned the Revelries that are probably going to come in.
I would almost certainly expect him to see all 4 of those Revelries come in, but Rending Volley is another card that disrupts the combo and also does not care about Spellskite or Dispel or any of those counter spells, so that's definitely a card he's going to want. I'm not sure if he wants to go down the route of also including Path to Exile. That seems like a bit too much, and if you're really looking to get off to an aggressive start, you don't want too many of these cards that just interact with the combo and don't really do anything else. So I would probably just bring in the Volleys and the Revelries and maybe Skullcrack if he wants to actually try and take out some stuff like Riftbolt that is pretty bad against Spellskite. Like Riftbolt can actually get redirected whereas Skullcrack can't. So maybe do some swaps like that, but most I think just Revelries and Rending Volleys.
Well, these players are shuffling up here for game number 2. Robert Berni will be on the play, and in the meantime, we're talking SCG Game Night, the very popular promotion that you can bring to your local store. Only 2 months left in the year. I mean, technically it is October, but the Hippos run is over, so now you can acquire the Otter, or in December, you can get yourself a reindeer for the very powerful Caribou range. Very old card, I believe, from Homelands. But these are the last 2 promotions for the year. We'll be announcing things for next year very shortly. So January, February, all that stuff. We'll have more information about that for you guys in the coming weeks at StarCityGames.com. But you can get signed up. Email isp@starcitygames.com to get signed up for that. And for our Canadian players and store owners out there, we have changed the rates on that as far as the shipping and how much it is to sign up for game night. So if you're interested in bringing that to the local Canadian stores, get in touch with StarCityGames.com, organize play, and we can get it all set up for you here as we do get ready for game number 2 between Blue-Red Twin and Burn. 2 decks that are not going anywhere in Modern. We're going to see this for a pretty long time, I think.
No, I mean, before the show started, we were talking about kind of the pillars of the format, and these 2 decks are certainly up there.
Yeah, these are not going anywhere. Burn, it's weird. Like, we have that the Pro Tour where Seth Manfield top 8s with Burn.
Yep.
A couple other players top 8 with Burn. And Burn was always looked at as a strategy that's kind of frowned upon. No skill, not particularly good. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's a major player, and it's not a deck where you hope to dodge the matchup because I think you're just going to play against it once or twice a Modern tournament.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, a lot of the decks that I play, things like Grixis and John, they don't have the best Burn matchup, you know?
Yeah.
So the fact that Burn kind of had its coming out party at Pro Tour Fate Reforged was just one of those things where it's like, man, I'm really sad now.
It's an annoying deck to play against. And it is good. I mean, the card quality is high as far as, the damage ratio on all the cards. The cards are pretty flexible. Boros Charm, Atarkus Command. You got good creatures in Swiftspear, Eidolon, and Goblin Guide. It's not a bad deck anymore. I think it actually just is a deck that is full of relatively good cards, and it's a good strategy.
No, I mean, and Burn is the strategy that has all these cards that you know, in theory, can interact with people. Like, you can lightning bolt their creature and rip bolt their creature and stuff, but most of the time, it's like these lava spikes that you don't have good ways of interacting with in Modern, because the counter spell of choice is Remand, and, like, the discard spell of choice is generally Thoughtseize, and it just does not line up well against this Burn deck. So, if you want to think about Burn as, you know, it's this mono red deck that takes no skill, sure, you can do that, but it's kind of like the smart man's red deck at this point, because you're kind of just like bobbing and weaving along with the format.
And you get a really good sideboard card in Destructive Revelry, which seems like a card that solved a lot of the problems. People like to go towards Leyline of Sanctity, or in general, artifacts and enchantments to try to beat Burn, and everyone's got 4 Revelries in their board now, it seems like. Serum Visions is where Game 2 is going to start here for Berni. He'll draw a card, and now Scry 2. We'll see how he wants to split up the Scry here, as both players have kept 7 cards. Both cards will go to the bottom here for Berni, and we're going to head towards Gilmore. Orion will draw a card, picked up a copy of Boros Charm. He'll start with a mountain. Does he have a creature to start with? He does in Goblin Guy. Another great start here. The attack. Stomping Grounds is the reveal here for Berni. So he'll get to draw a card. We're going to head back Robert's way as he falls down to 18.
And we're really going to need to see Berni come up with some early removals, some lightning bolts, maybe the pyroclasms out of the sideboard to deal with these creatures. He can't just let Goblin Guide hit him over and over and over again.
Yeah, when playing against Burn, I feel like I don't want to take 4 from Goblin Guy, but they're going to get the first 2 in a high percentage of the time because of haste, of course.
Yep.
But if you take 4, I'm not feeling great, because that means that's 1 red mana, deal 4.
Yeah, exactly. Well, plus you still have to deal with it too. You have to spend the time and like the card to deal with it. So maybe it gave you an extra land or whatever, so it's not that big of a deal, but it's exactly what the Burn deck wants to be doing.
Serum Visions done resolving. 1 on top, 1 on bottom here for Robert. We'll see what land he wants to play. We know he's got a Stomping Ground in his hand. You mentioned Sulphur Falls being a great land in the matchup. Perhaps he has one of those. But he's going to go with the Stomping Ground. It will enter the battlefield tapped, and we're going to head back Gilmore's way.
And that means Goblin Guide is getting in there for at least another 2.
Yep. In a way, it's accomplished its goal if it gets to deal 4 points of damage. So here comes the Guide. I have imagined there's a land on top. Yeah. No, there's a Remand. I'm a little surprised to see that in the deck still after Sideboard.
Yeah, when you're on the play, it's reasonable. You know, like say he just had the Remand instead of the second copy of Serum Visions, and he was able to Remand the Eidolon, then I think Berni would be in reasonable shape. But now that Gilmore gets to play the Eidolon and Berni has to draw the Remand, kind of a dagger.
Third land here for Berni is a Scalding Tarn. He will pass the turn back. Gilmore off to another great start here. Last game was Goblin Guide Eidolon of the Great Revel. This one it is too. Third land here for Ryan is a Bloodstained Mire. He'll shrug his shoulders, come into the red zone. The reveal there, I believe, is a Dispel. We'll see if Berni has some sort of removal spell here for Eidolon. Or Goblin Guide, depending on which one he wants to kill.
At this point, I would guess if he had anything, he would want to point it at the Eidolon. But like last game, if it's an Electrolyze and he just gets blown up by another Atarka's command, like that could just be game over.
Yep. The Open Series Houston champion taking a long look at his hand here. Things are not looking good on his side. He did get to play first this game, so we could see him work his way towards the twin combo pretty quickly here.
Yeah, but he does not have a lot of time.
And I've seen that look before. That's not a look of confidence.
No.
He looks like he's in some serious trouble.
No, I don't know. When you're playing twin, though, like it might be a good idea to have some sort of that, you know, poker face type of stuff going on. You know, like what if he's just like, oh man, I can't beat this draw, and then Ryan's like, all right, I'll tap out, I'll throw some burn spells at you, and he's just like, gotcha.
Yep, you're dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think that's what's going on.
I don't think that's what's going on here either. He's not generating a lot of confidence right now. He's going to search up an island off of the Scalding Tarn, going to fall down to 15. I don't think he's on nothing, but I'm not feeling confident right now.
Yeah, I just think that he doesn't like any of his options. Maybe he brought in like a Vendilion Click out of the sideboard, and that's what he has.
I wouldn't be in love with that either. So now he's got access to 3 lands. Scalding Tarn is done resolving. What's the spell? It is going to be Electrolyze.
Does Ryan have a response to that?
I think the answer is yes. He's going to sacrifice the Bloodstained Mire pretty quickly here, will Ryan. Keep in mind also, Berni took 2 to cast the Electrolyze.
Yeah, I mean, we could just see a Boros Charm giving Indestructible to his creatures, but it looks like he just went right past those Sacred Foundries.
Yeah, he keeps going past them. There is a Stomping Ground. This is bad news here for Robert Berni. Maybe it would have been better served just casting the Electrolyze in the main phase.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he also had that remand that maybe he wanted to sit on, but Burn doesn't have too many, like 3-mana sorceries that they necessarily want to play. So, I mean, what are you scared of? Like a Molten Rain, I guess?
I mean, this is maximum punishment.
Right.
I guess Ryan has to take 2.
Oh, no.
That's kind of unlucky.
I think he's still winning the race.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Electrolyze is going to lose. It will not kill the Eidolon. Bernie's going to take a bunch of damage. And he is certainly in a lot of trouble now. And now here's a Lava Spike that's going to go upstairs, and I believe he's going to fall down to 1. And this is the old Eidolon lock here.
Yeah, that's it's mostly the hard lock. It is a soft lock, right? In theory, you could play some 4-mana spells, but not sure what you could actually have to beat 2 2/2s and a handful of burn spells.
Perhaps your opponent will forget the Eidolon triggers.
I suppose.
That is your other out in this situation.
If Eidolon suddenly lost all text.
There's a Deceiver Exarch. He saw it. That is good.
Yep.
You got to try.
Yeah.
You got to try. Ryan Gilmore is going to win this match over Robert Berni, 2-0. Burn very quickly takes down Blue-Red Twin. It's a good start here for Gilmore. It's a bad start for the Open Series Houston champion, who's made his way back to the States here after a long trip to the Philippines, actually. After winning the Open Series in Houston, he had to go to the Philippines for work. That was almost, geez. We were in Houston in February.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, time flies really when you're doing this stuff every weekend. But Robert Berni is back. Unfortunately for him, his weekend does start off with a loss as Berni is victorious here in the feature match area. And as we make our way through this tournament, and of course we've got 9 rounds today and 6 tomorrow before